Somewhere right now, a man is sitting in traffic on his way to a job he is quietly done with. He is not done with it because he hates it. He is done with it because he has already seen the ending. He knows how the story goes if he keeps playing it the way everyone taught him to play it. And here is what nobody told him. You do not need to quit the game to win it. You just need to notice when the rules stopped applying to you. Most people are told that winning looks like a title, a number in a bank account, a car in a driveway. But there is a quieter kind of winning. It happens before any of that shows up on paper. It happens in the way you start to see the board. Here is the part that catches most people off guard. Nothing about the outside changes when this shift happens. The house is the same house. The commute is the same commute. The name on the paycheck stub does not move, which is exactly why almost nobody notices it happening to them, and why almost nobody notices it happening to the people around them either. This is not a video about hustle. This is not a video about side income or budgeting apps. This is about 6 signs that you have already shifted from playing the game everyone else is stuck in to playing a different one entirely. Even if your job title has not changed. Even if your paycheck looks the same as it did last year. Watch closely. You might already be further along than you think. Sign 1. You no longer view your paycheck as your primary asset. For most people, the paycheck is the whole plot. It arrives, it disappears, and the month resets. The paycheck is treated like the finish line, when really it was only ever supposed to be fuel. The shift happens quietly. One day you stop asking, "How much did I make this month?" and start asking, "What did this month's income let me build that will still be paying me next year?" Maybe it is a skill that compounds. Maybe it is a relationship that opens doors nobody else in your company has access to. Maybe it is simply time, bought back from a schedule that used to own you completely. Notice what did not happen here. You did not get a raise. You did not switch careers. You did not win anything. You just stopped asking the paycheck to be the entire story and started asking it to fund a different one. The paycheck becomes background noise, not because you stopped needing it, but because it stopped being the thing you were optimizing for. You are optimizing for what the paycheck is quietly funding. This is sign 1. Your salary is no longer the scoreboard. It is just the ammunition. Sign 2. You've stopped competing for status and started competing for autonomy. Status is loud. It wants a title on a business card, a corner office, a promotion announcement in front of people who will forget it by lunch. Status is a game with an audience, and the audience is the whole point. Autonomy is silent. Nobody claps when you gain another hour of control over your own day. Nobody congratulates you for saying no to a project that would have looked impressive, but cost you your evenings for a year. Somewhere along the way, you stopped chasing the applause and started chasing the exit door. Not an exit from work, an exit from being told what your day looks like by someone else's priorities. You noticed the people who looked the most successful were often the least free. Bigger title, bigger cage. More people reporting to them, more people they now had to answer for, and you quietly chose the opposite direction. It shows up in small refusals. The meeting you skip because it was never going to change anything. The extra project you let someone else take, even though it would have looked good on paper. The promotion you actually think twice about, because you have started asking what it costs before you ask what it pays. This is sign 2. You would rather control your Tuesday than impress a room full of people you will never think about again. Sign 3. You measure decisions in years, not paychecks. The average person makes decisions on a 2-week cycle. Whatever the next paycheck requires, that is the decision that gets made. Stay in the job that drains you, because the bills are due Friday. Take the shift, skip the class, delay the plan. Somewhere, your clock changed speed. You started asking not what gets me through this month, but what does this choice look like from 5 years away? This is the quiet mechanism behind almost everyone who ends up ahead. Not intelligence, not luck, time horizon. The version of you willing to be uncomfortable now, for a return that will not show up for years, is playing a completely different game than the version of you optimizing for Friday. Think about what this actually costs in the short term. It means saying no to comfort today for a payoff you cannot see yet, cannot touch yet, and cannot prove to anyone watching. Most people cannot tolerate that kind of uncertainty. It feels like losing. It is not losing. It is just a bet paid on a longer clock than everyone around you is running. You still get the paycheck every 2 weeks. Of course you do. Everyone does. But it no longer runs your decision-making. The years do. This is sign 3. You have quietly traded a 2-week clock for a 5-year one, and nobody around you even noticed the switch. Sign 4. You have at least one asset that works while you sleep. This does not require wealth. It requires one decision, made once, that keeps paying you back without your daily attention. It could be money sitting in something that grows on its own. It could be a skill you built that now brings clients to you instead of the other way around. It could be a small piece of writing, a small piece of code, A small relationship you invested in years ago that still quietly opens doors today. The people stuck fully inside the old game have income that requires their constant presence. Show up, get paid. Stop showing up, income stops. That is not a flaw in them. It is simply the default setting most people never question. Here is the quiet test. Imagine you disappeared for a month. No calls, no emails, no shifts covered. For most people, income simply stops the moment they stop showing up. For you, something in the background keeps moving. It might be small, it might barely be noticeable on a bank statement, but it is there, and it did not need you awake to keep working. The moment you build even one thing that earns without your direct hourly attention, you have stepped outside that default. It might be small, it is not about the size, it is about the direction. This is sign 4. Somewhere in your life, there is now a quiet worker on payroll that never asks for a raise, never complains, and never sleeps. And that worker is not you. Sign 5. You can sit in silence without needing the next purchase to fill it. This one is uncomfortable because it points at something most people spend their whole life avoiding. The old game runs on friction. Feel behind, buy something to feel better, feel the bill later, feel behind again. It is a loop built to keep you exactly where you started, just with slightly nicer things and slightly less room to breathe. At some point, you notice the loop. You notice that the purchase never actually closed the gap you felt. It only ever paused it. Think about the last thing you bought purely to feel different, not to solve a problem, just to feel different for an afternoon. Did the feeling last a week, a day, an hour? Most people already know the answer, they just do not like sitting with it, and so you learn to sit with the discomfort instead of spending your way past it. Not out of restriction, out of recognition. You realize the feeling was never about the object, it was about something quieter that no purchase was ever going to fix. This is sign 5. You have separated the itch from the purchase, and that separation alone puts you ahead of almost everyone still buying their way through a feeling that was never for sale. Sign 6. You know the exact price of your own time, and you defend it. Here is the final shift, and it is the one that changes everything underneath it. Most people know the price of almost everything, except the one resource they cannot buy back. Their time has no number attached to it in their head, so it gets given away for free constantly. To group chats that drain them, to obligations they resent but never questioned, to scrolling that borrows hours and pays back nothing. At some point, you attached a number to your own hours. Maybe it came from doing the math on your income. Maybe it came from simply noticing how it felt to lose a Saturday to something that meant nothing to you. Once that number exists, everything changes. You start saying no with less guilt. You start protecting mornings, evenings, weekends, the way you would protect actual money, because you finally understand that is exactly what they are. It even changes how you spend money. You start paying to get hours back instead of paying to fill hours up. That is a different kind of purchase entirely, and most people never make the switch because they never did the math that would justify it. This is sign 6. You stopped treating your hours like they were free because you finally did the math and realized they were the most expensive thing you own. Close result. None of these 6 signs show up on a resume. None of them will get mentioned in a performance review. Nobody is going to email you a certificate for finally seeing the board clearly. But look back at the list. The paycheck stopped being the scoreboard. Status stopped being the target. The clock in your head slowed down to years instead of weeks. Something quiet started working on your behalf. The purchases stopped filling the silence, and your hours finally got a price tag, one you defend. None of these arrived with an announcement. They arrived one quiet decision at a time, stacked on top of each other, until one day the old rules simply stopped fitting. That is usually how it works. Not a single dramatic turning point, just a slow accumulation of moments where you chose the quieter option, until the quieter option became who you are. If even 3 of these are already true for you, you are not behind. You are simply playing a game most people around you cannot even see yet. The 9 to 5 might still be the container. It is no longer the whole story. The people who eventually look from the outside, like they won everything, usually crossed this line years before anyone noticed, quietly, without an announcement. You might have already crossed it too,